When I was young, I believed life was simple. My father had money, so I never worried about anything. I didn't study much, and I didn't work. I had everything I wanted. If I saw something I liked, I just asked my father, and he would buy it for me. My friends often told me to think about the future, but I laughed. Why should I worry? Why should I work? My father was rich, and that was enough for me. Each day, I woke up late and had breakfast in bed. I spent hours watching TV, and sometimes I went out with friends. We ate at expensive restaurants, wore designer clothes, and drove luxury cars. Life was easy and fun. I thought it would always be that way. I never thought about money or work. If I wanted to travel, I did. If I wanted new shoes or the latest phone, I bought them without a second thought. My father paid for everything. I never asked how hard he worked or how he earned his money. I just enjoyed my life, thinking only about the present, never about the future. Then, one day, everything started to change. My father called me into the room. He looked serious and asked me to sit down. I smiled and said, "Yes, Father," but he didn't smile back. He wasn't joking. He looked me in the eye and said, "You're not a child anymore. You need to think about your future." I laughed and replied, "But I have everything I need." He shook his head and said, "You have everything because I work hard. But life isn't always easy. One day things might change." I didn't understand. I thought he was just overthinking things. I smiled and told him not to worry, but he simply said, "We'll see." I didn't know what he meant. I thought he was in a bad mood and ignored his words. I went out with my friends, laughed, and spent money, unaware that my life was about to take a different turn. The next morning, I woke up late as usual and picked up my phone. My friends had sent messages, making plans to go out. I smiled, got dressed in my best clothes, sprayed on expensive perfume, and went downstairs. But when I reached the living room, my father was there again, waiting for me with the same serious look. "Sit down," he said. I sighed and told him I had plans, but he didn't care. "You are not a boy anymore," he said. "You must learn about life." I rolled my eyes and replied, "Father, I know about life." He shook his head again. "No, you don't." Then he said something unexpected, "Come with me." I followed him outside. He drove through the city, and for the first time, I noticed things I had never paid attention to before: people walking quickly, workers cleaning streets, men selling food on the roadside. The city looked different that morning. After a while, my father stopped the car in a part of town I had never seen. The buildings were old, the streets were dirty, and the people looked tired. He pointed at a man selling fruit. "Look at him," he said. "He wakes up at dawn and works all day. He never rests or complains. He works to feed his family." I stayed quiet. Then he showed me a small shop where an old woman was sewing clothes. "She's been working for 40 years, he said. "She doesn't have much, but she works hard every single day." I looked at the woman. She seemed tired but didn't stop. She just kept working. I had never seen people like this, never even thought about them. My father turned to me and asked, "Do you see now? Life is not easy for everyone. Some people work hard every single day. But you, my son, have never worked a day in your life." I felt strange. I wanted to respond, but I didn't know what to say. I looked away. For the first time, I felt small. Something inside me had changed. We got back in the car and drove in silence. I kept thinking about that man and that woman. I had never imagined life like theirs. After a while, we arrived at a large building, my father's office. I had been there before, but only to ask for money. Inside, everything was busy. People were walking quickly, phones were ringing, papers were stacked everywhere. He took me into his office, sat down, and asked, "Do you know what I do every day?" I shrugged. "You work," I said. He nodded. "Yes, but do you know how hard I work?" I stayed silent. He continued, "I wake up early. I make tough decisions. I solve big problems. I take care of this company. And I do it all for you." I looked around and noticed the people. Some were writing reports, others making phone calls. Many looked tired and stressed. I had never thought about these things. I had only seen the money, never the effort behind it. Suddenly, I felt something new, guilt. Then my father handed me a small notebook and said, "Starting tomorrow, you will work here." I laughed. Me? Work? But he wasn't joking. "Yes. You will start from the bottom and you will learn." I was shocked. "But I don't need to work," I said. He shook his head. "You do. Because one day I won't be here. And then what will you do?" I had no answer. I had never thought about life without him. I had never thought about the future at all. But now I had no choice. My father had made a decision. Tomorrow, everything would change. I would start working for the first time in my life. The next morning, I woke up early. It felt strange. I was used to sleeping in. I got dressed and went downstairs. My father was waiting with a small bag. "Your lunch," he said. I looked at him in surprise. "Lunch? Can't I eat at a restaurant?" He shook his head. "Workers bring their own lunch. And today, you are a worker." We drove to the office. But this time, he didn't take me to his big office. Instead, he took me to a small room filled with desks and busy people. My real life was just beginning. We were working on computers when a man approached us. He wore glasses and looked serious. "This is Mr. Anderson," my father said. "You'll be working under him." Then he left. Mr. Anderson looked at me and said, "Come with me." He walked quickly, and I followed. He led me to a small desk and handed me a chair. "You'll be checking these papers," he said, placing a large stack in front of me. Look at the numbers, find mistakes, mark them. I stared at the pile. All of them? I asked. He nodded. Yes, and work fast. I sat down and got started. At first, it seemed simple. But after an hour, my head began to hurt. The numbers all looked the same. My eyes were tired, and I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. Everyone around me was working. No one was resting, and no one was talking. It was nothing like the life I used to know. This was different, this was real work. By lunchtime, I was exhausted. I opened the lunch bag my father gave me. It was simple food, nothing fancy, no expensive drinks. I ate quietly. I watched the other workers eat quickly, then return to their desks. No long breaks. No casual conversation. Just discipline and focus. I missed my old life. I missed my freedom. But I also began to feel something new, respect. These people worked hard every single day. And now, I was one of them. The afternoon was even harder. My back ached from sitting, and my hands were sore from writing. I wanted to stop, to go home, but I kept going. Mr. Anderson came by to check my work. He found mistakes. Do it again, he said. I sighed. I wanted to argue, but I didn't. I nodded and started over. When the day finally ended, I felt something shift inside me. I was tired, yes, but I also felt different. For the first time, I truly understood how hard people worked. For the first time, I realized that money doesn't come easily. As I walked out of the office, my father was waiting. He didn't ask me how my day went, he just smiled. And for the first time in my life, I smiled back. Not because life was easy, but because I had earned that smile. The next day, I woke up early again. My body was sore, my hands stiff. I wanted to stay in bed, but I couldn't. I had work to do. I got dressed and went downstairs. My father was already at the table. He looked at me and nodded. Good, he said. Just one word, but it felt different. It felt like pride. At the office, Mr. Anderson was waiting. You were slow yesterday, he said. Today, work faster. I wanted to respond, but I didn't. I sat down and began. The papers were there again, the numbers waiting. My head still hurt, my back still ached, but I didn't stop. By noon, I had finished my task. Mr. Anderson checked it and found fewer mistakes. Better, he said. Just one word, but it meant more than any expensive gift I'd ever received. It felt like I had done something real. During lunch, I sat with the other workers. They talked about their families, their problems. They laughed, they ate quickly, and they returned to work. I listened. I had never really thought about people like them before. I never considered what they went through. But now, I was sitting beside them. I was one of them. The afternoon was hard. Mr. Anderson gave me more work. Let's see if you can handle this, he said. I wanted to complain, but I didn't. I just nodded. I focused and kept going. Hours passed. My back hurt, my hands ached, but I worked. I wanted to prove I could do this, not just to others, but to myself. At the end of the day, Mr. Anderson looked at me and said, "Not bad." Just 2 words, but they meant everything. I nodded and left the office. My father was waiting outside. "Tired?" he asked. I nodded. He smiled. "Good," he said. And I understood. I understood why he made me do this. For the first time, I didn't want to run away from work. I wanted to learn more. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I worked every day. At first, it was painful. My body hurt, my mind felt drained. But slowly, I got better. I made fewer mistakes. I worked faster. Mr. Anderson still didn't smile, but he stopped criticizing me. Sometimes he even said, "Good job." And those words felt better than any gift I had ever received. I began to understand the value of money. Before, I only knew how to spend it. Now, I understood how hard it was to earn. I watched my father at work. I saw him make tough decisions, handle challenges, and run his company. I had never respected his work before, but now I did. He wasn't just a man with money. He was a builder, a leader, a provider. One evening, my father called me to his office. He looked at me for a long time and said, "You've changed." I didn't know what to say. He continued, "At first, you were lazy. You didn't care about work. But now, you understand." I nodded. He was right. I wasn't the same person anymore. I felt different. I felt stronger. Then, he did something that surprised me. He took out a small key and handed it to me. "This is your office," he said. "You're ready for more responsibility." I was shocked. "My office?" I asked. He nodded. "You've worked hard. It's time to take the next step." I held the key in my hand. It was small, but it felt heavy. It wasn't just a key. It was trust. The next day, I moved into my own office. It was small, but it was mine. My own desk, my own chair, my own responsibilities. I was no longer just a worker. I was learning how to lead. It wasn't easy. I made mistakes. I had bad days. But I didn't give up. I kept going. I kept learning. I wanted to be like my father. I wanted to build something of my own. Looking back, I laugh at who I used to be. I thought life was easy. I thought money was simple. I was wrong. Life is effort. Life is about building something with your own hands. My father taught me that. And now, I'm ready for the future, not because I have money, but because I've learned how to earn it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more heart-touching, real-life inspired tales, Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. Your support means the world, and I'll see you in the next one.